Hi, I'm Andrew Krug, and I lead the security advocacy team at Datadog. I'm here with Andrew Capobianco, staff security engineer at Tally today, and we're going to talk about compliance automation, which is a topic I know that's personally near and dear to me, because sometimes compliance can feel like a bit of a slog. It can be a little bit boring, and we actually have an industry expert here with us today to share some of the things that he's learned over his long and storied career. How's it going today, Andrew?
It's going well. I'm happy to be here.
You've worked at some pretty large shops implementing compliance.
Yeah. So I was at Equifax actually for 13 years, and they have so many different regulatory frameworks that they have to comply with. But even I was there during the 2017 breach, so there were even more consent orders, and it was just a huge amount of things that they needed to make sure that they were translating. From their different regulations and compliance needs into how do you actually do that. So definitely have a lot of experience doing that.
Yeah, I know one of my favorite things from Equifax is actually their control mapping framework, which is a public free asset that anyone can go map the various compliance controls to the different means of implementing them. I think in cloud, that's one of the things that's super confusing when it comes to translating compliance to cloud, which is that the controls don't always map, right?
Right.
Do you have one that's your go-to that just is really impossible to
Yeah,
translate?
absolutely. One of the most challenging ones we've run up against is how things have changed from a networking perspective, network security and firewalls. So I know in PCI compliance, they talk about firewall configurations and router configurations. So whenever we're talking about the cloud in AWS, there's these things like network firewalls. But actually, when you look at the control, you're going to have to configure so many different things to be able to actually meet that control. You're probably also maybe talking to auditors that have been doing this for a long time, and they're used to like just show me the one hardware device and how you've configured that. But it's a lot different here in the cloud, so it definitely helps to have third-party expertise to guide you through how to actually do that.
Yeah, and of course, when we all started building things on top of the AWS cloud, there wasn't a lot of really great tooling available to continuously audit and attest that we're actually meeting those minimums, right? And that's kind of where what we used to call security auditing, and then we kind of called it security auditing and security automation, and then it was cloud security posture management came into the picture. I'm curious from your perspective, when you're choosing a tool like that, what are the things that you really look for in a great posture management tool?
Right. So at Equifax, I actually was working on the team, and we did it from the ground up. Um, so now at Tally, we're startup size. We don't have the manpower to do that. So definitely looking for a company that or a third party that has really invested in knowing what the actual controls are, and those have been tested. So knowing that, hey, we can go and we can say this is how, for example, Datadog has interpreted it, is really important because we want to not get into let's argue what this control actually means. Being able to say, hey, this is what's been used by the industry, and I can get into things like what's the actual cloud configuration, because I'm a security guy. I like the actual like let's go fix security things. Let's increase our security posture. Compliance is a way to do that, but compliance itself isn't that exciting.
Yeah, I know no one would say they have plenty of security engineers to go and do the attestations, remediate all the findings. So I think that is a really good point that you make about the opinionatedness of that
Mhm.
tool. So a vendor or product is bringing those opinions. So you really don't have to think about those things. You can focus on scoring almost entirely.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Focus on the fix, and also one of the things I like in tools is so you can have compliance behind the scenes, but talk about why this thing is actually a problem, right? What's the rationale for a certain finding? Not just like it's PCI Control 7, and that's why you have to do it, right? What's the actual exposure that you have that will actually motivate you to?
Yeah, and I know Tally is a really good size company, right? And one of your philosophies, one of your design philosophies for being compliant is really keeping things simple.
Right.
So could you tell us just a little bit about the way that you kind of architected Tally for simplicity?
Yeah. So we are a good size. I think we're under 200 people, maybe over 100. But simplicity means that we can probably do more with less because we don't have to manage so many one-offs, right? The way we do it at Tally is really we've invested a lot in our infrastructure as code and Terraform. So whenever we stand up some infrastructure, we're going to do it the same way. And also, whenever we find, a finding, for example, that we need to fix a misconfiguration, we're able to actually fix it in a common module and spread it across. We don't have to go out to every developer and say, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to fix this. We really like to be able to cascade it across. So the simplicity is actually, hey, just use, for example, if you're in AWS and you have an S3 bucket, use our common module, and then we'll make sure that everything's compliant if you use our common module.
So if I understand that right, when you have a security issue that's a compliance violation, you're fixing that in one place. You're not opening 1,000 Jira tickets for 1,000 S3 buckets.
Yeah, and we actually made that mistake before. So we're in a constantly scaling environment. What that means is we are bringing up resources, we're taking down resources, and every time you bring up a resource, there's a scan and there's more findings, right? Then whenever it takes down, then you're resolving those findings. So it's just a whole lot of noise if you're creating tickets. Whenever we first were doing one finding per ticket, it was not valuable at all. It was just overwhelming, and people didn't pay attention. What I would really recommend, what we moved to, is look at the overall pattern and create tickets for the patterns and fixing the patterns. So you still get the dopamine rush of, I got to fix hundreds of things, but you did it with just 1 or 2 lines of code.
Yeah, I think that that's a really important point that you make, is that you want to engage engineering teams in remediating these things, and you actually want it to be enjoyable for them.
Right. Right.
I don't know of any engineer that says, I want to be creative with the way that I resolve my security problem.
Right. Well, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Thanks again for being here today. Before we wrap up, do you have any advice for folks that might just be getting started with compliance in the AWS cloud?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially if you have a small compliance or security team, you don't want to spend all your time trying to figure out this older compliance framework and how to map it to the AWS cloud. So my advice would be to look at third-party expertise and third-party tooling that you can quickly set up and offload that work to those industry experts and focus on your core competency, which is your business, how your business works, and how your technology works.
Great. Well, thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.